legends, look, I didn't want to have to make this video, but it's the start of the new year, so someone's got to say this. Going into 2025, someone has got to talk about the most overhyped fighter going into the year, and that is coming fresh off a recent robbery, Alex Pereira. What do I mean by coming fresh off a recent robbery? I'm talking about how he robbed Ilia Topuria for Fighter of the Year. That is what today's video is going to be about getting a little bit of the hype off Alex Pereira. And you might be wondering why I need to do this. It's because of the Alex Pereira fans, right? The poa turds out there. They are becoming unsufferable. And I know there's some viewers of Dougie's Corner that is going to think that this video is absolutely hilarious because I hate Alex Pereira. But boys, believe me, I don't hate Alex Pereira. I don't hate him. But there is something about the fan base right now where they're just ignoring everything that's going on, especially with him maybe becoming the biggest duck in the UFC at the moment, and ignoring how much the UFC has gifted him things on a platter that I just need to set straight. All right, because the poa turds out there, they're reaching levels so far unseen before. To me, they're starting to feel like, remember Max Holloway fans after he slept Justin Gaethje? Remember just how insufferable they are? They actually thought him saying we'll find out Saturday night over and over and over again was funny trash talk, yeah? Or Nate Diaz fans. Nate Diaz fans after the Leon Edwards incident where Leon Edwards stopped paying attention for a second. And Nate Diaz fans were talking about how that was the greatest thing they've ever seen. Nate would have won that if there was a 6th round. They were starting to act like it was Nate Diaz after his first fight with Conor McGregor. After Nate Diaz beat a 155-pound man on short notice. Yeah, they were acting like Nate Diaz was Nick Diaz from Strikeforce reincarnated again. That's the level of casual fandom that was ringing out throughout the MMA community. Or Israel Adesanya fans after he style-bended on Jared Cannonier. If you were there for it, you were there for it. But that's the level of Alex Pereira fandom that is going on right now. And I think it's time that we had a little bit of narrative shifting in the MMA community. And unfortunately, I'll cop the flack. I'll bear the damage from the Alex Pereira fangirls, and I'll be the one to set the record straight. So we're going to be looking at Alex Pereira in 2024, why he isn't the fighter of the year, and why going into 2025, tempers need to be just tempered, for lack of a better term. Tempered a little bit. Let us get into it. Welcome to the overhyped legacy of Alex Pereira's spreadsheet or slideshow or chart or whatever talking points list. I will begin thusly with point number Number 1. A1. Gifted the Yarn fight at the very start of his light heavyweight career. People forget, man. No one wants to talk about this, but you know it and I know it. That Jan Blachowicz fight, Alex Pereira didn't win that fight. Alex Pereira knew it at the end of that fight. We all sort of felt it. And when it got given to Alex Pereira, we all went, oh, that was lucky. Wasn't that lucky? That was a little bit lucky. And ever since then, people just want to completely forget that this fight ever happened. There's now this conversation going on that maybe Alex Pereira isn't as easy to take down as we all think. You know, the whole just take him down, bro. Maybe he isn't that easy to take down. He is. He is that easy to take down. The fight happened not even 2 years ago. We've just all completely erased it from our memory. But when Alex Pereira stepped into the light heavyweight division, he was gifted a fight with Jan Blachowicz. Absolutely gifted that decision. And the reason that you guys are all here is because generally we hate mainstream MMA media. We understand that something is going on with the UFC right now where they're curating things a little bit too much, and we're getting that in our Bispings and our Sunnins and our DCs and our regular corporate MMA media, and we want the realness. We want the realness. Well, so far, Alex Pereira's light heavyweight legacy is not the realness. He was gifted a fight at the start of his career at light heavyweight, and he's been gifted his most recent one with Khalil Roundtree. The whole thing smells of being a corporate plant to me, especially with his entire style, his character arc in the UFC. It's very power slap-esque. Very Gen Z TikTok-esque, right? His entire press conferences are just Shama. So it's one word, easy to remember, very easy to put on a t-shirt, and a left hook, right? We're out here trying to say that he's the pound-for-pound fighter in the world when he's got one tool in his arsenal. I heard a Lucas Tracy breakdown of him versus Khalil Roundtree saying he just throws every technique perfectly. The bro can't even throw a takedown. He can't shoot a takedown, yet he's out here shooting everything perfectly somehow. So, breaking down light heavyweight, right? He gets Jan Blachowicz, he gets that gifted to him. Now, I'm not going to jump straight into point number B, but I'll just add a little bit of pretext to it. After Jan Blachowicz, what we get is Jamal Hill, and that's Jamal Hill coming in on short notice for UFC 300 after a catastrophic injury to his ankle. So he gets that one on short notice. Now this one, I don't really want to put it here because it's not 100% on Alex Pereira. Like if Jamal Hill is dumb enough to take a fight against Alex Pereira on short notice, that's Jamal Hill's problem, you know? And, you know, he was backing himself. It was UFC 300, big bet, right? On one stage, on one corner of the bet, on one end of the bet, you have got being humiliated in front of the entire world. On the other side of the bet, he could beat Alex Pereira at UFC 300. Eternal glory, my friends. So he bet on himself. It didn't pan out that way. But it was a Jamal Hill compromised on short notice. And then after that, we get another short notice fight of not Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prochazka 2, the rematch. The rematch. Very interesting that, isn't it? Right? Like, we're not allowed to give Alexandre Pantoja any rematches because, rematches, boring. Literally bring out someone that isn't even in the UFC and stick them onto a pay-per-view main event rather than have a rematch. Robert Whittaker, you want to go against Israel Adesanya again? How about you fight everyone ever before we even think about giving you a rematch against Israel Adesanya? So we don't do rematches unless it's Alex Pereira. Unless it's Alex Pereira against another striker who he's already beaten. We'll give him that rematch, yeah? No, look, the reason I'm so upset about it is because Magomed Ankalaev was there and around. Now, it is short notice, and we know that the Magomed, they don't love being short notice fighters. So maybe Magomed Ankalaev somewhere in the background said no to that short notice fight. All right, fine. It's a little bit, there's reasons for it. That's why I didn't want to put it as point number B. But what I will bring up after the Yuri Prochazka 2 fight for point number B is point number 2, the UFC 307 main event, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree, the number 8 ranked fighter in the world, coming off a drug suspension, is a worse gifted title shot and a worse ducking offense. Why am I in the way? Let me fix this. John Jones, at one point, was the best light heavyweight of all time. Maybe even still is the best light heavyweight of all time. So you have got the best light heavyweight of all time versus the best heavyweight of all time. There is a storyline there. It was an undeserved title fight with Tom Aspinall sitting there, but at least there was a storyline there, and at least Tom Aspinall was booked in to be the backup fighter. When it came to UFC 307, the UFC, again, corporate intervention with Alex Pereira's career, the UFC went out of their way to pre-book Magomed Ankalaev so that he would not be available for UFC 307, rather than allowing him to be the backup. They went out of their way, and then when Dana White was asked about it, he just acted and pretended like it was completely out of his control, like he's not the one who makes the bookings. And then they went ahead and gave him a fun striker who was coming off a drug suspension. He wasn't even eligible to fight technically, but they still went ahead and gave him Khalil Rountree. It is worse than John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. What happened at UFC 307? And the fans say nothing about it. Again, because Alex Pereira is a fun TikTok edit. He'll say Sharma, he'll look stoic on a roller coaster, and then he'll hit someone with a left hook. Yeah, very fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy it as much as the next guy. But again, we just need to cool down with the hype levels here and bring a little bit of realness to what is going on in the situation. Next point, boys. Going 50-50 with the ranked 8th fighter in the world does not make you the fighter of the year. Alex Pereira seems to have won fighter of the year because he fought 3 times this year. And Ilia Topuria has been very well recognized as the second place for some reason because he only fought twice this year. When I have made a video talking about fighter activity this year, where I pointed out that it has been completely normal since as far as I bothered to look back, which I believe in that video was 2012, it's been completely normal for a UFC champion to fight twice a year. And if you get gifted the ranked number 8th guy while the UFC is hiding away your number 1 contender, I don't think you should get added legacy for that. And we seem to be giving Alex Pereira added legacy for fighting Khalil Rountree. Even though he was getting very, 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 very tested in those first 2 rounds. It was a hard fight for Alex Pereira. Imagine if in December, instead of doing Alexandre Pantoja versus Kaya Sakura, we just chucked Ilia Topuria in there against, I don't know, Calvin Kattar, yeah? And Ilia Topuria went to a 50-50 war with Calvin Kattar. Had to use all of his skill set. Like, this is the thing that people say, well, yeah, it started off bad for Alex Pereira, but he was able to pull it out of the fire against Khalil Rountree. Imagine if Ilia Topuria had to go and pull out all of his skills to go into a 50-50 war with Calvin Kattar. That's essentially what Alex Pereira had to do against Khalil Rountree, and everyone is acting like it's the greatest thing in the world, and it won him Fighter of the Year. Do you know what I think should get you added legacy? Not only the fact that you fought twice this year, which is what a champion is meant to do and what most champions do, almost all champions fight twice during the year. They don't just get gifted an extra one because. What should be getting you extra legacy is the fact that you knocked out Max Holloway while he was peaking. And up until that point, people were still arguing about whether or not Max Holloway had even received a knockdown. Like, yeah, Alexander Volkanovski, he had to get beaten up a little bit first for Ilia Topuria to get the win. And fair enough. That's fine. But we're also giving Alex Pereira the Jamal Hill came in injured. And Yuri Prochazka was also on short notice. So they've both got some ifs and buts around them. Just like the Alexander Volkanovski has got some, yeah, but he was knocked out first by Islam Makhachev. But Max Holloway was coming in clean, fresh, strong, knew that he was going to be fighting Ilia Topuria after UFC 300. That was a perfect setup against what we all agreed was a peaking Max Holloway. And Ilia Topuria slept him. Slept the number one contender. He beat the number one contender at his own game. That would be like, imagine if Alex Pereira took on Magomed Ankalaev and then outstruck him in the first round, took him down and out-grappled him on the second round, and then put him away however he wanted. Because Magomed Ankalaev doesn't really have one style. He's primarily a stand-up striker, but if he's losing the stand-up, he'll go to the grappling. So he beat Ilia Topuria, beat Max Holloway at his own game. Now that should be legacy defining. That is what should get you Fighter of the Year, not going to war with your number 8th ranked contender. And lastly, he's started admitting that he might just be ducking Magomed Ankalaev. He has talked about how it might just be funny to make it as hard as possible to make Magomed Ankalaev fight him. He's going into 2025 after being gifted the start of his light heavyweight career and the end of his most recent fight in his light heavyweight career, being gifted those 2 fights on bookmarked ends of it. He's going into 2025 being gifted the Fighter of the Year and now saying that he might just straight up duck Magomed Ankalaev. If his next fight isn't with Magomed Ankalaev, he is a duck. There's no more ifs and maybes. He should already be called a duck for what happened at UFC 307, but we can't quite take it that far yet, can we? Because that might just be the UFC protecting him. So we are now in the phase of, was the UFC protecting him, or did they begin protecting him? And now we're just leaning into it, Alex. Now we're just leaning into becoming a duck. Hey, if my boss isn't going to make me do the work, I'm not going to go out of my way to do it anyway. I don't know. But this is all going in to Alex Pereira in 2025. And the fans just need to calm down a little bit. He is not the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's very, very, very good. He's very good. But just chill out on the pound for pound top 5 fighter of all time talk. That is it. That has been my expose on Alex Pereira, where I am with him. Does this sound like someone who hates him? No. It's just someone who sees him through the lens in which he should be seen. The lens of facts, reality, and logic, and not these played up TikTok edits. So, you let me know, Alex Pereira, where do you want to see him go in 2025? How mad will you be if he does duck Magomed Ankalaev in his next fight? Who should his next fight be? Has he done enough to be able to fight whoever he wants? Has he done enough favors for the company to be able to pick and choose whatever fights he wants? Or do you want to see him fight Magomed Ankalaev? And who do you think would win out of that fight between Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev? Put it down there in the comments. If this is your first time here, g'day, my name is Dougie. I try and make an MMA video every single day of the week, and I try and go live live about 3 times a week. So if you want to join me for that, hit that subscribe button. If you want to know when I go live, hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button. If you're already on board with the channel, leave me an abusive comment because you're an Alex Pereira fan. I know the audience that watches these videos. I know you're Alex Pereira fans, so I don't expect there to be any likes on this video. Just a list of absolute abuse down in the comments. It's going to be great. I'm being serious with these points. I'm being deadly serious with these points. You guys just need to calm down about Alex Pereira. But until then, you guys all have yourselves a great day. Have a very happy new year. Enjoy your holiday break. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you all in the next one.